Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Suzanne Mazars, and I have our announcements for the coming week. Neighborhood Art Gallery has 2 shows right now, Retrace by Jungle Ling on the west side and Ripples by Carmen Brooke. You're welcome to visit our galleries after service or anytime during the week. Upcoming in the DMC Speaker Series, how can we pay for a more just and sustainable society? Join the discussion on tax fairness at the next DMC Speaker Series on May 30th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Details will be in our Monday announcements. Neighborhood Peace Ambassadors. Our Healthy Congregations Committee is seeking members to act as peace ambassadors within the congregation. Peace ambassadors are committed to creating a safer, more inclusive environment for the entire community and responding to issues or incidents as they might occur during our events or services. There will be info sessions in the coming weeks. Training and support will be offered. For more information, you can talk to members. Talk to members of our Healthy Congregations Committee. On Tuesday, 2 days from now, the Ukulele Orchestra of Toronto presents a spring concert with special guest Transit Lounge. That's here in our space at 7:30 p.m. Ukulele Orchestra is run by Eve Goldberg, who will be our guest musician next Sunday. Happening after our service on May 28th, our service on reconciliation, plan to attend a special healing ritual at the fire pit in Withrow Park following the service. If you want to hear more about that, you can talk to Kim. Jewish folk dancing. Come join members of the DJC and the DMC for folk dancing. No dance experience is necessary. You just need your dancing shoes and a smile. Expand your dance repertoire, meet new people, and explore one of the fun facets of Jewish culture. This is a monthly event. We'll be dancing here in our space 3:30 to 5 on the 28th and Sunday, June 25th. Coming together in community this summer. Neighborhood will be hosting various events over the summer in addition to 2 Sunday services. We'll have one in July on the 30th and one in August on the 27th. So watch your email for a complete list of neighborhood events like labyrinth walks, circle song, games nights, drum circle dance party, pizza movie night, talent night, picnic. We've got a lot going on. There will also be a volunteer appreciation potluck and dance on Saturday, June 17th, and you are all invited. This week's question to the community: what qualities define the strong mother figures in your life? And next Sunday, May 21st, our theme is spiritual reconciliation. Our speaker will be Chris Emanuel. Our service weaver will be Peter Marmarick. And as I mentioned earlier, Eve Goldberg will be here as a guest musician doing the music, as I will be doing music in Ottawa at the CUC Symposium.
Thank you, Suzanne. It's a bit of a whack-a-mole, back and forth. Well, we get through those. And I welcome you to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation service. Thank you for joining us. My name is Allison Kabayama, and I will be your service weaver this morning. We start today's service by creating a sacred space, and I invite you in joining me in reading our invocation, which will be projected for us. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And this morning, I've asked Luann to light our chalice. We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
For our opening music today, we're going to sing We're a Circle Within a Circle. We have left room inside of our circle for those of you that like to move. There's drums and shakers and things around the chalice for those of you that like to percuss. And of course, there's singing for those of you that like to sing or any combination of the above. We are a circle within a circle with no beginning and never ending. We are a circle within a circle with no beginning and never ending. We are a circle within a circle with no beginning.
I start this morning by acknowledging the Wendat, Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations who lived here before me and are living here now together with other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. I offer my gratitude to our First Nations for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. I will work to honor those teachings. Today, almost all of us, some of us online are in our own homes. Let us remember that these homes and this space, we are on the traditional lands and territory. Oh, I'm repeating it. Okay. Indigenous peoples have been acknowledging the land at the start of gatherings, ceremonies, and events since time immemorial. And using and participating in the land acknowledgement is a way to recognize the enduring presence and resilience of Indigenous peoples. It's also a reminder that we are all accountable to these relationships. Good morning and welcome. Our musical director is Suzanne Mazars, and Zariah Getchell facilitates our children's program. Our message will be shared in parts by various members of the small group, Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, led this year by Moira McDonald. Our theme for May is reconciliation. Behind me is our monthly altar, and you are encouraged to share in deepening this theme by bringing in objects that meaningfully connect you to this theme. We store everything away between services, and you'll get them back after the last service of this month. Think of the table as our communal installation and bring something in next week to add to it. We are open to many beliefs and learn from many traditions. We welcome all people who are looking for a spiritual community. If you are visiting us in person for the first time, we welcome and encourage you to stay for coffee time. Our services can vary from week to week, so we encourage you to come for a few to get a better feel for who we are. Our mission at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. And our theme for today is Reconciling with the Great Mother. As I prepared for today, I was able to learn a bit about Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, which is a religious education curriculum in feminist theology for adults and older youth, written by retired Unitarian Universalist minister Shirley Ann Rank. Cakes, as I will refer to it, was written in response to the passage in 1977 of the Women and Religion Resolution by the UUA's General Assembly. This historic resolution urged UUs to carefully examine their religious beliefs and the extent to which they influenced sex role stereotypes, as well as examining the relationship between religious and cultural attitudes towards women. The water ceremony that we consider part of our tradition every September draws its beginnings from that resolution, which spurred a Women and Religion conference where Lucille Longview and Caroline McDade introduced that ritual. Women UU ministers also grew from a handful to more than half of the UU clergy by the year 2000. Cakes probes religious history before the advent of the Judeo-Christian tradition, which is part of our UU inheritance. It references the cakes to the Queen of Heaven that the prophet Jeremiah criticizes in the Bible, believed to be a reference to the worship of the ancient goddess known by some as Astarte and others as Ishtar. Both goddesses were subsumed by the male-dominated religion and society to come. It has been credited with directly or indirectly introducing now common UU practices such as sitting in circles at services, lighting a chalice at the beginning, and joys and concerns. Even neighborhood's recent practice of setting up a side altar to honor our monthly theme comes from the cake's curriculum. So we can see honoring the divine feminine brings rewards to everybody. In the words of Japanese martial artist and founder of the martial art of Aikido, Morihei Ueshiba, the art of peace that I practice has room for each of the world's 8 million gods, and I cooperate with all of them. The god or goddess of peace is very great and enjoins all that is divine and enlightened in every land. Now it's time to greet your neighbor. After you've greeted a few neighbors, perhaps turn to the camera on the back wall and offer a greeting to those joining us virtually. Soraya will sound a chime to end. Please. Can I give you a hug?
Morning, folks. Hi, Lyndon. Nice to see you.
Morning, Doug. Good to see
Hello,
you.
Daydream, wherever you are.
We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the. Last time. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean.
Good morning, everyone. It's time for our Time for All Ages today. And before we get started, I want to thank the group, Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, for doing all the work they did to put this service together. It's going to be really great, I think. Now, some of you may have noticed that I did not ask the young and young at heart to come down to the front because it's time for the Time for All Ages this week, because I'm going to instead be inviting Moira and Laura, two members of that group, up to the front to do a little bit of a pantomime while we tell this story. So let's get that camera at a wide shot, shall we? This is the story of Demeter and Persephone. Demeter was the ancient goddess, Greek goddess of the harvest. Demeter loved her daughter Persephone. They played together in the fields almost every day. As Persephone smiled up at her mother, Demeter's heart swelled with happiness, and the crops grew high and healthy. Flowers tumbled everywhere. As time passed, Persephone grew into a lovely goddess. Persephone loved her mother too, but as she grew, she was developing ideas and questions of her own. Sometimes in her wanderings, she met spirits of those who had passed on, who drifted about restlessly, but who meant no harm to people. Persephone said to her mother, "Mother, I have met spirits of people who have died, who seem confused and do not understand what has happened to them. Is there anyone in the underworld who is there to receive them?" The underworld was a special place that the ancient Greeks believed was where those who had passed on went to live after their lives on earth had ended. Sorry, just a second. I lost my notes. Last day of Mercury retrograde, I'm telling you.
This is Persephone and the daughter.
The goddesses are waiting, yes. As they do sometimes.
He thought that's back.
Ooh, Moira, you are the best.
American.
Thank you. Demeter replied, "It is I who has domain over the underworld. That is the place from where I draw forth the crops. I know that place very well, but my most important work is here." Persephone wasn't too satisfied with that answer. She told her mother that the spirits of those who had died needed someone to help them below, and that she was going to go and be that person. Demeter did not like this idea at all. She begged Persephone to reconsider. Persephone gave her mom a big hug. She even cried a little because she knew that she was going to miss her. But in the end, Persephone knew she needed to go to the underworld for a while, by herself, and see if she could do this special work without her mom. "Very well," said Demeter to her daughter. "You are loving and giving, and we cannot give only to ourselves. I understand why you must go. Still, you are my daughter, and for every day that you remain in the underworld, I will mourn your absence." Demeter walked Persephone down the long fields to a long, deep ravine. Demeter even gave Persephone an ancient Greek flashlight called a torch, so that Persephone could see where she was going. She then watched Persephone go farther and farther into a magical crack in the earth, the entrance to the underworld. For many months, Persephone stayed below, receiving and renewing the spirits who had passed on without ever getting tired, her light getting brighter and brighter. "I am Persephone, and I have come to be your queen," she told them. "If you come to me, I will initiate you into your new world." But Demeter missed her daughter terribly. She walked all over the earth, hoping to see her daughter emerge. She was so sad that she withdrew her special powers from the crops, the trees, and the plants. She wouldn't let anything else new grow. And then one morning, a ring of purple crocus pushed their way through the soil and surrounded Demeter. She was so surprised, and also tired from crying so much, that she forgot about her rule against new things growing. She leaned forward and heard the little flowers whisper, "Persephone's coming back! Persephone's coming back!" Demeter ran through the fields and forests. She waved her arms, calling, "Persephone is back! Persephone is back!" Everywhere, Demeter's special powers were stirring again, pushing and bursting forth into pale young petals and tender buds and new leaves. Even the birds were singing, "Persephone's back! Persephone's coming back!" When Persephone finally climbed up out of the deep ravine, her mother was there with a special cape made of white crocus for her returned daughter. They ran together and hugged the biggest hug, and they danced and danced and danced. From then on, every spring, Demeter makes sure the flowers are blooming and crops are growing and the fields are green with welcome. Every fall, when Persephone returns to the underworld, Demeter ignores the crops and flowers and lets them die. And then each spring, Demeter brings everything back to life again, ready to welcome her daughter's return. That was our time for all ages. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your patience with my technical difficulties.
Thank you. I love that. Now for a unique time. In our service, when we invite you to share a joy or concern in your life. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over Laura. Excuse me. Laura, would you share the first part?
Good morning, everyone. Really glad you came. So I am Laura Landine Thomas. I'm daughter of Susan Barney Landine, who was daughter to Marjorie Oswald Barney, and she was daughter to Ruth Patton Oswald. In the Cakes for the Queen of Heaven small group, we explored the curriculum, which expressed interpretations of the artifacts and symbols and stories, and we reflected on what it meant in the context of our own lives and our culture. And I found it was deeply moving and integrating. So we have, actually not yet a slide. In prehistoric times and for thousands of years, the divine was imaged in female form. Evidence has been found suggesting that societies were more peaceful and balanced. In my early childhood, my image of God was a giant eye in the sky that watched my every move. And it wasn't until middle school, when I was studying the Greek myths, I was captivated with Artemis, goddess of the hunt and the moon. Her powerful image inspired me, and I felt emboldened. My ancestral tradition has been Christianity, and so we have our first slide here. But since looking at the timeline of the divine imaged as female, I reconsider how to define my ancestral lineage. Did we not all come from the goddess? Sorry, that's a bit of a small image there. Is this not our heritage? The first goddess figurines, the so-called Venus clay statuettes that have been discovered all over Europe and the Near East, date back to 37,000 years ago. And similar figurines are found throughout the Paleolithic era and into the Neolithic era to about 2500 BCE. Okay, looks like we need the next slide up. Yeah, so that's the map of the distribution of all the goddess figurines that have been discovered. And they all date to between 37,000 years ago and 2500 BCE. The next slide, please. So the great mother religion flourished in the Neolithic era, which was between 10,000 and 2000 BCE, and it encouraged the respect and care for all life. Women's bodies were celebrated and revered because of their ability to give birth and their connection to the moon's 28-day cycle. Often we see the goddess crowned with the crescent moon or with bull horns, which symbolizes in a sacred way their domestication of cattle. It's also proposed that the bull's head and horns resemble the female reproductive system, the uterus and the fallopian tubes. People observed the seasons and cycles and lived in harmony with Earth. Next slide, please. The goddess and her many names reflected and sanctified the cycle of life, birth, death, and regeneration. The Hypogeum in Malta is a well-preserved Neolithic underground stone temple. And within it lies a statue of the sleeping goddess. This was used for both communal ceremony and ritualized burial inside the womb of the earth. The temple and underground complex is 6,000 years old and was used for worship by everyone until about 2500 BCE, when that temple period came to its end. In the myth of Demeter and Persephone, the cycles of birth, death, and regeneration reflects the many facets of the mother-daughter relationship. Our group was exploring this myth just as I was grieving the loss of my daughter, having just left home for university. Our earth seasons align with the phases of our lives, and this powerful myth gives voice to our very human emotional experiences. I can say that I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity to learn and connect within the safety of our small group and to explore the rich connection with my ancestors and to our earth. Thank you.
Okay, now's the unique time for joys and concerns. We invite you to share a joy or concern in your life. Please take one candle from Moira and approach the chalice when I motion to you. And for those on Zoom, we will call on you after people here have a chance in the sanctuary.
I am Nancy Vanderplatz, daughter of Marilyn Ladebor, daughter of Anna Hogeveen, and I'm mother of Marisa, who's mother of Ashlyn, and Ryan and Declan, too. Laura shared something of the way that people lived during the many thousands of years that goddesses were worshipped. But we all know things have changed. First slide, please. Or slide 5. Maybe mine didn't get in. Doesn't matter. Okay, yes. Okay. So goddesses were gradually replaced by male gods. And in the Judeo-Christian and Muslim traditions, by one supreme patriarchal God. Next slide. We recognize this guy, right? Along with the rule of this one male Lord and God came a different kind of society. In places where many ancient goddess images have been found by archaeologists, they have also found evidence that societies were more egalitarian. Women had important roles in decision-making and in how wealth was passed to them, passed down to future generations. But with the rise of patriarchal religions came a change in the role of women. Instead of being respected as equal partners, women were owned by men with no say in their lives or that of their society. And, next slide. And reflecting the one supreme Lord of the universe, These societies became hierarchical, with a king and lords and serfs and slaves. Great civilizations arose along with this transformation in religion, but these were based on war and exploitation. Thanks. When goddesses were worshipped, people were living in harmony with the natural world. But the patriarchal God of the Bible told the people to have dominion over the earth. The natural world became something to take for the benefit of man, no matter what happens to the other beings of the earth. There are hints in the Old Testament about this change from the worship of gods and goddesses ruling together to one male supreme God. Jeremiah, a prophet who has a whole book in the Old Testament and was alive around 600 BC, told the people that Yahweh was a jealous God and they must stop worshiping their ancient goddess. Next slide, please. But people at that time refused, saying life was better when they baked cakes and burned incense for the Queen of Heaven. This Queen of Heaven, Ishtar or Asherah, continued to be worshipped along with Yahweh for centuries. But eventually, the monotheistic religions became dominant in the Middle Eastern and European world. Thanks. Don't need this. That's the end of my slides. I, like so many of us, grew up with the Father God figure and with the understanding as a girl that I did not have the choices for my life that my brothers had. When I became a feminist, I rejected that patriarchal worldview and the religion that came with it. I am now so grateful to learn about this alternate view of human relationships and the earth that the ancient goddesses share with indigenous people who still have that reverence today. During the same time period that the Cakes for the Queen of Heaven curriculum was being developed, Unitarians also came up with the seventh principle. We affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. Our faith is evolving away from the patriarchal to include more goddess elements and to see the sacred in the earth and all of life. Are we interested in finding ways to include the goddess in our rituals and services? Thanks.
So now it's time for meditation or prayer, and I invite Valerie Moisey.
It's okay. It's time.
Very effective.
I've done it again. Sure. Okay.
And I forget this is another day.
Hello, I'm Valerie Moisey, great-granddaughter of Ethel Jennings, a granddaughter of Christine Smith, and daughter of Joanne Moisey. This is a goddess meditation, so I'm going to invite you to get comfortable in your chairs and to soften your gaze or to close your eyes. Imagine you are surrounded by a bubble of silence, as if you have drawn a veil between you and the world. Begin to slow the rhythm of your breath. As you exhale, let your breath carry you deeper and deeper within, down, down, down. Let your awareness drop into your body. into your head, neck, arms, chest, and down into the innermost chamber of your heart. Here, flowers carpet the ground, birds sing, and the breeze gently blows. In the distance, you can hear a muffled roar of the ocean waves rising and falling like music. Your heartbeat, your breath, and the ocean waves keep time with the rhythm of nature. Cares and concerns of the world fall away as you are surrounded by a comforting and kind presence. There's an all-embracing sense of love, nurturance, and wholeness. Your senses are enlivened and your intuition is awake. Here before you is the living mother of all creation, the mother of life itself. She is everywhere. She is in the twinkling of the stars, the firmness of the earth, the blooming of the flowers, and in the gentle embrace of a mother's arms. You are soothed by a complete acceptance of your beauty and your frailties. You are resting in a bountiful compassion and in an indisputable knowing that you belong. Held in the heart of this mystery, you feel a powerful force, a holy energy, the breath of life, the soul of the cosmos. Your heartbeat is in rhythm with life itself. You bow down to the ancient mother in gratitude. You inhale abundance and drink in the sweet nectar of love, filling yourself up, up, up from your feet, legs, torso, arms, neck, face, and head, up and up and up until you are overflowing. You are radiant with joy and the ecstasy of being alive. You take a deep breath, aware that you carry the Great Mother in your heart as you are showered with her sweet, sweet energy. You know that you are welcome and that you can return here anytime. You reluctantly bow your head and give a wave goodbye. Gradually, you shift your attention. You can feel your feet inside your shoes, your toes pressing against the edges. Gently, you wiggle your toes, big toe and the other toes. Taking another deep breath, you feel your thighs pressing against the chair. And taking yet another breath, moving your fingers. And if your eyes have been closed, slowly open them. I'm wondering if there are 3 or 4 people who'd be willing to share any of your experience in meditation this morning.
I just really enjoyed that sense of feeling being filled with so much energy that was energy and love that was completely unconditional and unmitigated.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I can actually talk. when you said waving goodbye, my mother had a stroke and thankfully was not in the hospital very long. And she could not speak. And on the Saturday, when I was singing to her, she raised her hand, and she died on Monday evening. And all Sunday and Monday, she was silent. I mean, she couldn't speak anyway. But I felt like she was waving goodbye and thanking me for being a good daughter.
Excellent.
I'll be needing a copy of that. That got very personal very fast, and made me realize that I've got a lot to learn about the matriarch versus the patriarch. I resist those two dichotomies, but you sort of created a vessel for me to understand it a bit better, so thank you.
Thank you.
My mom taught me some amazing lessons as a child. She always taught me to walk in other people's shoes and be kind to animals and just respect everybody. And she also gave me a great work ethic. So she's a great lady.
Thank you. Thank you for your sharing. The qualities and the experiences of the goddess have been around for a very long time, and they continue to be alive. And part of what we're doing is raising them up and honoring them. And there's a South American indigenous saying which goes like this: the bird of humanity has flown on one wing for way too long.
Thank you, Valerie, and thanks very much to all the members of the Cakes group, those who have been speaking this morning and also those who have been just participating in the group. We've had a wonderful experience this year, and I encourage everybody to think about small groups next year. I don't know what will happen, but I'm sure there'll be more really interesting spaces for exploration. I am Moira, and I am daughter of Nelly Josefina, who is daughter of Maria Luisa, who is daughter of Maria Eugenia. The Great Mother and the female religious leadership was suppressed in the Abrahamic religious traditions that many of us have inherited, but she did not die. There is evidence that Sarah, wife of Abraham, was herself a priestess. The Gnostics celebrated and learned from the Apostle Mary, who we may know as Mary Magdalene. The Irish Saint Brigid has been considered a Christianized version of the Celtic goddess Brigid. And even Mary, the mother of Jesus, has taken on greater status and prominence from her very few mentions in the Bible. So I think our inherent attraction to the divine feminine, though that may have been suppressed, we just kept looking for her, and she kept percolating up through the traditions that we did end up inheriting. But even if we reject these religious traditions that we've inherited, their images and their stories, they work at a deeper archetypal level. They imprint on us no matter how hard we try for them not to. I have struggled my whole adult life with that deeply embedded Sistine Chapel version of God, the old white guy with the flowing white hair above me, and he's reaching out to to a son. But my soul seeks a creative spirit that goes way beyond this. And the marrow forms and the genders that we are familiar with, I know that that can't be true, but it still gets lodged in there because those stories are so powerful. Those stories imprint on our societies too, and that was mentioned. As Shirley Ann Rank, who is the UU minister who created Cakes, reminds us, the great myths or stories the people of a culture believe in reflect and reinforce the social structures of the culture. It is no accident that when ancient people believed that a great goddess gave birth to the world, women had more power, they had more respect than they did in later patriarchal times. And so if we want to change the world, and as you use, we say that we do, we have to change our stories. We have to bring into consciousness how our theologies and even the religious structures that we've inherited have been influenced by these stories, even if we don't accept them anymore. The Demeter and the Persephone story that is most often told is not the one that you heard this morning. It involves Persephone being kidnapped by a male god and taken to the underworld. And the sculpture that Nancy showed with her talk of a young woman not looking very happy, not like the Persephone this morning, that was that version of that story. The story that we heard this morning is one where Persephone is separating from her mother, and this is something that all daughters must do. She becomes her own person. She has her own identity, her own powers, her own agency. This story was recalled for more than 1,000 years when pilgrims journeyed to an ancient temple outside of Athens to experience for themselves the separation and reunion of the mythical mother and daughter. So stories make all the difference. So let's create new stories, ones that celebrate equality, personal agency, living in partnership, honoring each and all people from across the genders. At Neighborhood and within our living UU faith, we have the chance to do not only this, to create these stories, but to live them. So may it be so.
Now it's time for our offertory. When sharing of ourselves financially is part of our tradition, it's part of every faith. Volunteer efforts are essential, but salaries are paid and programs created by your contributions. This congregation is a living entity, and like all living things, it needs nurture and sustenance. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. I ask the greeters to please bring the baskets to me when the money is collected, and we'll now pause, and Moira will teach us the dance, for we are dancing Sarah's circle.
Thank you. So we'll do this while the offering is being picked up. So Dancing Sarah's Circle is a UU song, hymn. And as we mentioned, Sarah has many stories attached to her as well. And one of them is that she may have actually been a priestess in her own right. So this hymn builds on a previous song called Climbing Jacob's Ladder. And the idea was that instead of climbing a ladder that's sort of going up and it's linear, that we can all be in a circle. I'm going to invite people, if you are willing, to try out some movement with this. I think I better put this mic down because we're going to teach a song along with it.
dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. Family, neighbors, all.
And the dance, well, we're going to do real slow start. And we're going to go towards our right shoulder.
We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. Family, neighbors, all.
Okay. And there's no wrong moves here because we're in a circle. So we just keep following the circle.
You can just sway as well as
Sway, do whatever you like. You can play the drums if you like. So, all right.
We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. Family, neighbors, all. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Family, neighbors, all. We will all do our own naming. We will all do our own naming. We will all do our own naming. Family, neighbors, all. Every round a generation. Every round a generation. Every round a generation. Family, neighbors, all. On and on the circles moving. On and on the circles moving. On and on the circles moving. Family, neighbors, all. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. Family, neighbors, all.
If you have found love and acceptance here, if you have found home here, if you have known kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of our gratitude for our common life as we build the common good. And I'd like to invite Luann to extinguish our chalice as we sing. It's over this side.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
I think we have a closing blessing which we'll be standing for. Maybe take your neighbor's hand or touch their shoulder, touch elbows, connecting physically as we have spiritually. And if you have a drum, you may want to stick it on your chair aside. We're going to be moving around. Connecting physically as we have spiritually. Today we will be closing with the chant that the circle is open, and may it be so.
May the circle
Circle be open but unbroken. May the love of the goddess flow ever in our